The following program contains shocking portrayals of action. If you suffer from cowardice, Randall may not be right for you. Check with your video game supplier.
Proclaiming the truth in the highways and byways of the world. Fighting for justice in the dark alleys of politics. Raising the voice of resistance to a fevered pitch. And he knows where to find the best and worst jail food in America. Randall Terry.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I might be second rate, but I ain't third rate, baby. Oh, welcome to the program. I love you. I love you. And I love you. And oh my goodness, it's going to be a high-octane, high-content day today. Tony Hayward, head of British Petroleum, being beaten up by our congressman. And they fight like girls. And Saudi King Abdullah coming to see Obama. Obama-dullah. And Israel opens up a crack, allowing in food and toys. We call that bread and circuses over land in the Gaza Strip. Today's program brought to you in part by Hamas, killing Jews for the glory of Allah. And by Hezbollah, the moderate Jew killers, killing fewer Jews, but with far more pleasure. Let's have a quick word from Joy the Hammer, and then we've got a great show for you.
Perhaps you've been watching this show trial of Tony Hayward while he sits in front of these congressional losers taking questions, especially that Harry Waxman guy. Oh, what a piece of work, Maron. Listen to me. Those Democrats who are trying to focus on British Petroleum are doing this for one reason only: politics. They have stolen so much of your money in the last 2 years that they should be in here with me. But instead, they keep running their mouths like they've got something to say. They're useless pieces of work, believe me. But it brings me full circle back to what my father said. If you want to go into a crime syndicate, go into the government. It's the ultimate in organized crime.
Welcome to the program, friend. We have got a lot to talk about today. Coming up, I did some interviews in front of the White House that are really funny, and we're going to look at the race in Nevada. You're not going to want to miss that, and some great words of wisdom from George Washington. But first, while we watch what happens in the Gaza Strip and the slow movement of more food, medicine, and toys into the Middle East, into the Gaza area, there are people in the college world and in the foreign relations world who are making a case that poverty is the cause of terrorism. If you're poor, you might become a terrorist. They really believe this stuff. So, what I decided to do was to use this segment to talk with you about what they're saying so you can see the craziness for yourself. I'm currently in a master's program on international relations, and I'm telling you, the material is fascinating sometimes, but disturbing at others. You can start to see how we've gotten into the mess we're in when you take the ideologies of those who are guiding the ship of state and look at them. You might be as surprised as I was to see that, listen, population control is being proposed as a solution to terrorism. I read this article called Some Roots of Terrorism, Population and Environment, by a guy named Paul Ehrlich and another guy named Jingao Liu. And the more I read, the more I became disturbed and angry. It read like a polemic written by somebody with an agenda, an angry college student. And early on, the authors admitted that they might be shooting an arrow and then painting a target around it. They said, quote, "We emphasize that we do not consider the socioeconomic and demographic variables to be the only determinants of terrorism. And we are not sure whether they are the main determinants of terrorism." In other words, we don't have a clue what we're talking about, but we're making it up as we go and we feel good about it. So that didn't prevent them from building their argument on sand, but beyond their immediate admission that perhaps their thesis was flawed, their words were belligerent in a way that belied a separate agenda. Now, consider these quotes. Quote, and while a sane energy policy giving heavy weight to conservation and renewable resources would doubtless reduce the threat of terrorism, it would also threaten America's love affair with gas-guzzling SUVs and the energy interests that guide much of the foreign and environmental policies of the United States government. Excuse me? Did you hear what I heard? He said that renewable resources would doubtless reduce terrorism. What empirical evidence do we have of this? Build a windmill, destroy a terrorist batch. Use a battery, bring an end to Hamas. It's stupidity. It's not based in reality. They go on, increasing the shrillness of their tone. Indeed, the very strictness of religious fundamentalism may make it extremely resistant to change and may promote a willingness to die for beliefs, which at one time was a feature of Western religious tradition. Indeed, one could claim that in the Western world today, a cultural fundamentalism surrounds the use of automobiles and SUVs, especially in the United States. Do you hear that, you soccer moms? You're the cause, you're the terrorists, you and your SUVs. You're willing to die for your Explorer, aren't you? Listen, comparing people who drive SUVs to religious fundamentalists willing to give up their life is not scholasticism. It's not scholarly. It's silly. And so I guess that I was reading something that was written by somebody who really wasn't a scholar in the field of international relations. So I looked again at the name, Dr. Paul Ehrlich. Wait a minute, why do I know this guy? He wrote two outrageous, offensive books, The Population Explosion and The Population Bomb. He's a professor at Stanford University who has openly called for government tyranny over individuals and families concerning mandatory coercive birth control. Mandatory and coercive, like China. Now, in my studied opinion, he is not to be trusted as a scholar who's even fit to discuss poverty and terrorism. But, in fact, he called for government terror. He is a terrorist, or at least government tyranny over its citizens. So forgive my bluntness, but I've quarreled against his agenda for much of my adult life. Here's a couple of sample quotes from his 1968 debunked book, The Population Bomb. Quote, in the 1970s, the world will undergo famines. Hundreds of millions of people are going to starve to death in spite of any crash programs embarked upon now. At this late date, nothing can prevent a substantial increase in the world death rate, although many lives could be saved through dramatic programs to stretch the carrying capacity of the earth by increasing food production. But these programs will only provide a stay of execution unless they are accompanied by determined and successful efforts at population control. Population control is the conscious regulation of the numbers of human beings to meet the needs, and not just the individual families, but of society as a whole. He says our children will inherit a totally different world, a world in which the standards, policies, and economics of the 1960s are dead. As the most powerful nation in the world today, and as its largest consumer, the United States cannot stand isolated. We are today involved in the events leading to famine. Tomorrow we will be destroyed by its consequences. Ah! Well, even though his doomsday prediction proved false, he still has the same solution to ending terrorism: birth control. He says, quote, the United States and other rich nations should speed the reduction of their own population sizes to more satisfactory and sustainable levels. While setting an example, the United States could also carefully target financial aid on efforts that would change social and demographic conditions, i.e., increase employment and help lower family birth rates, fertility rates in developing countries. This will require innovation, care, and tough diplomacy. Yeah, I'll call it tough diplomacy. If you want to come bearing gifts of sterilization and forced abortion and forced birth control to other nations so that we reduce their terrorist populations, you might find yourself dead. And remember, this stuff pretends to be scholasticism. No wonder we're going crazy as a country. I'll be right back.
If my cloud has a silver lining, it's only to store electricity for the lightning.
Moments with Moses. If you spurn my statutes, and your soul abhors my ordinances, so that you will not do all my commandments, but break my covenant, your strength shall be spent in vain, for your land shall not yield its increase, and the trees of the land shall not yield their fruit.
Did you know that we broadcast from Washington, D.C.? So we decided, hey, when you've got all this material staring you in the face, why not go and get some of the gleanings, baby? So I went to the White House just to talk to people about what they think about Obama, about British Petroleum, even talking to kids who are coming for a vacation to see the big White House. Here is a sample of the intelligence of this country. President Obama and British Petroleum.
I really want them to strong-arm them and get it solved.
Like a little Chicago action, take him out back, break his arm maybe?
Not Philly action.
What did they do in Philly?
Violence is not the answer.
I think he needs to act a little more than talk.
What would you like him to do? Like take some of the BP executives out back and just beat the snot
That would be nice. That would be great. Put him against the wall.
Just start pummeling them.
Yes.
What did you think about him comparing the 9/11 disaster, the terrorist attack, to the oil spill?
No comparison?
All right, so what's the word in the street about in Connecticut about President Obama?
Not our best friend. Not our best friend.
What's your favorite thing about this presidency, and what's your least favorite thing about this presidency? I'll start with you.
My favorite thing, he's the first black president. It's a big historical thing, and we get to live through that. That's really awesome. My least favorite thing is that he has no clue what he's doing right now.
I would want to say that for the Gulf issue going on right now with the oil spill, he was so sidetracked by the Israel happenings and the Turkey ship happenings and so on that he didn't focus on the Gulf thing.
I don't think we should. It would be fair on our part to expect miracles out of him.
What? Tell me.
We're from India.
We're
From India? I wanted to say India. I am loving your country.
That was a good accent.
Thank you.
That was
Wait,
good.
watch this.
It was like this. It goes like this. Yeah.
When they start going, then this back and forth.
It's called the Bobby yes.
The
It's
Bobby yes.
yes. It's called the Bobby yes.
Does it mean yes or no or maybe?
No, it means this means yes. This means no, and this means maybe.
Barack Obama, you and me, mano a mano on a basketball court, anytime, any place. You're mine. Anyone else? Anything else in English?
I like turtles.
I do too. I love turtles with a little butter and salt.
They're good.
Meow. Did you just say meow? On my television show? You're off the team, buddy.
Randall Terry para presidente!
If called, I will serve. To hear the cry of those young people, Randall Terry for president, it did my heart good. And we only had to pay them each $10. Bottom line, it was no big deal. All right, listen. We have a call to battle for you. We've got to fight against Elena Kagan. Even if we lose, there are some fights worth losing. So, pro-life people, Tea Party people, those of you who think that the Republicans are our great knights in shining armor, call them. Demand that they filibuster. The number's on your screen, 202-224-3121, 202-224-3121, or go to terrycast.com and you can send a fax to every single one of them in America. Come on, fight. I'll be right back.
Randall Terry.
Courage is rightly esteemed the first of human qualities, because it is the quality which guarantees all others. Sir Winston Churchill.
Welcome back to the program. By the way, have you heard the news? Sharon Angles, the gal in Nevada running against Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, is ahead in the polls. Yes. And she is a lunatic, I swear. She's talking about crazy things like making Social Security private. It's crazy, I tell you. No, what's crazy is putting a gun to my head and telling me that I've got to pay into a bankrupt system. By the way, I'll cut this deal right now. I'm 45 years old and a little bit more, and I would give up every penny that I've paid into Social Security, because it's gone anyway, and never take a dime from the government in my old age, should God let me live that long. Never take a dime. Just stop making me pay into the system right now. Why don't they just let everyone who wants out get out? Isn't that what freedom is all about? But I'm going to go a step further. To my Tea Party friends, listen to me. We have to have the guts to say the hard things and to do the hard things. Because if you believe in Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, WIC, Social Security, then you are a socialist. You are. It's just, all we're doing is talking about levels, degrees. Because what is the essence of socialism? The redistribution of wealth by force from the government. Now, by force, what I mean is pay your taxes or else. It's not compassion. When somebody, let's say that a guy puts on a mask and breaks in your house and says, all right, give me your money. I've got a sister who's sick and has a tumor and needs it operated on. And I've got some cousins that are really poor and need food. Come on, give me your money. Is that compassion from you? No. Is it theft from him? Yeah. Well, let's say that same guy says, man, I'm tired of running from the law. I'm going to become the law. And he runs for office and he wins. And then he comes with this tax collector, knocks on your door and says, sir, good sir, we have need of some help for some people who need operations and small children who need food. We'd like to take 47% of your income, please. Give it to me. At that point, is it compassion from you? No. Is it theft from him? Well, I would argue it is. God himself only wants 10%. So for the government to forcefully take money from us via taxes and to use it for the benefit of another, that is the essence of slavery and theft. And Tea Party friends, listen to me. We have to have the guts to say the hard things. That we don't just want to end socialism in the generic sense. We have to be willing to say the hard things, that Social Security must be phased out. Yes, we can do it compassionately. No, we're not going to let people starve to death. But at the end of the day, it is either socialism and immoral, or it's no big deal. We have to have the guts to say the truth and not be afraid of the consequences. I'll be right back.
Let their way be dark and slippery, with the angel of the Lord pursuing them. For without cause they hid their net for me. Without cause they dug a pit for my life.
Hi, friend, I'm Randall Terry. George Washington said, be courteous to all, but intimate with few. And let those few be well tried before you give them your confidence. Well, on the friendship level, I think that all of us can attest to the fact that love is unconditional, but trust is earned. And one of the surest ways to get burned in life is to trust people who have not stood the trial of time and difficulty. It's not just enough that somebody has known you for a while. Did they cover your back in a foxhole? Did they cover for you in a fight? That's how friendships are tried. But I want to go a step further and talk about the realm of politics. We have got to stop being seduced by people who say a few words but don't have the history to back it up. Look at the words that George Washington said. He said, let them be well tried before you give them your confidence. So here's my suggestion to you. As we go into this election cycle, go to every single candidate meeting you can and ask them flat out questions. Number one, Would you vote to end all child killing from conception until birth? Yes or no? Push them. Demand an answer. If they don't have the guts to give you an answer, then they're probably a deceiver. Next, would you vote to privatize Social Security? Yes or no? Hold their feet to the fire. Try them before you give them your confidence. God bless you.